Welcome again, second year students. So, we were doing luncheon by Guy Maupassant, and we had done that the lady is having lunch with the author and she is eating too much, and she is scolding the author for eating too much. So, when my mutton chop arrived, she took me quite seriously to task. Now the irony of situation is that the lady is having much, but she is taking the author to task. I see that you are in a habit of eating a heavy luncheon. I'm sure it's a mistake. Why don't you follow my example and just eat one thing? Now this is the central sentence of the short story, that she says, why don't you follow my example and just eat one thing? We all know that the lady is not just eating one thing, she is eating one thing after another, and she is taking the author to task. She is scolding the author. I'm sure you would feel ever so much better for it. I'm only going to eat one thing, she said. I said, as the waiter came again with the bill of fare. She waved him aside with an airy gesture. No, no, I never eat anything for luncheon, just a bite. I never want more than that, and I eat that more as an excuse for conversation than anything else. Now she says that I don't eat anything for lunch, and if ever I eat, that is just for an excuse for conversation. And we all know that this is not the case. She is eating very sumptuously and she is eating very greedily. I couldn't possibly eat anything more unless they had some of those giant asparagus. Now, again, she says that I'm not going to eat anything unless you have asparagus. I should be sorry to leave Paris without having some of them. Now, you see, she has imposed this lunch party on the author and she is ordering all the expensive things on the cost of the author's courtesy. My heart sank. Now, the poor author, his heart has sunken. Why? Because he is worried about paying the fare. I had seen them in the shops and I knew that they were horribly expensive. Notice the use of word horribly. Asparagus were horribly expensive. My mouth had often watered at the sight of them. Now, his mouth has watered means he had a great urge to eat them, but he could not afford them. Madam wants to know if you have any of those giant asparagus. I asked the waiter. I tried with all my might to will him say no. Now he is asking the waiter, but he is willing from inside of his heart that the waiter should say that no, we don't have, so that his money would be saved. But it was not the case. A happy smile spread all over his broad, priest like face, and he assured me that they had some so large, so splendid, so tender that it was a marvel. Now, these waiters are also such people that they encourage people to eat more and more. I am not in the least hungry, my guest sighed. But if you insist, I don't mind having some asparagus. I ordered them. Now, notice the use of the word insist. And we know that the author is not insisting, not forcing the lady, but she is imposing herself. So again, she says, see, she is saying something else and she is doing something else. There is a large gap between her words and actions. And so she says, I'm not in the least hungry. Now, after eating such a sumptuous meal, she says, I'm not in the least hungry, but if you insist, I don't mind having asparagus. Aren't you going to have any? No, I never eat asparagus. Now, she asks that whether the author will eat asparagus. He says, no, I never eat. Now, it is a lie because he has said that his mouth has watered many times, but he could not afford to buy asparagus. I know there are people who don't like them. The fact is, you ruin your palate by all the meat you eat. Now, the poor author is trying to save his money by not eating expensive things, and the lady is taunting him for having bad taste. We waited for the asparagus to be cooked. Panic seized me. Now the author is panicked. Panic means he is filled with worry and tension. We waited for the asparagus to be cooked. Panic seized me. It was not a question of how much money I would have left over for the rest of the month, but whether I had enough to pay the bill. Now the question has changed. First, he was thinking whether some money would be left to last him the whole month, but now the question is that whether he will be able to pay the bill today or not. It would be mortifying to find myself 10 francs short and be obliged to borrow from my guest. Now, it is very discourteous that if he falls short of some money and if he would be forced to borrow money from his guest, I could not bring myself to do that. I knew exactly how much I had, and if the bill came to more, I made up my mind that I would put my hand in my pocket and with a dramatic cry start up and say it had been picked. Now he had already prepared himself that if the bill was more than the amount he is carrying in his pocket, he will make a dramatic cry that, oh, I have lost my purse, my pocket has been picked. Of course, it would be awkward if she had not money enough either to pay the bill, but there were chances that his guest, the lady, even the lady may not have enough money to pay. Then the only one thing would be to leave my watch and say I would come back and pay later. Now you see, all these things are going on in author's mind. The lady is enjoying the lunch, and the author is worried about the payment. And he had even thought that if he falls short of money to pay the bill, he would leave his watch at the hotel and say that I would come back and pay later. The asparagus appeared. They were enormous, succulent, and appetizing. The smell of the melted butter tickled my nostrils as the nostrils of Java were tickled by the burnt offerings of the virtuous Semites. I watched the abandoned woman thrust them down her throat in large voluptuous mouthfuls, and in my polite way I discouraged on discoursed on the condition of the drama in the Balkans. Now the lady is greedily eating the asparagus. The author is not eating, though he is also interested in having asparagus, but still he is just watching the lady eat them and he is talking of drama. Coffee? I said. Yes, just an ice cream and coffee. Now you see, when he asked for coffee, again she has added one more thing that yes, an ice cream and coffee, she answered. I was past caring now, so I ordered coffee for myself and an ice cream and coffee for her. Now he said that what would happen will happen. So he ordered a coffee for himself also, and he ordered ice cream and coffee for her. You know, there is one thing I thoroughly believe in, she says, as she ate the ice cream. Only one should always get up from a meal feeling one could eat a little more. Now, after eating so much, she is saying that one should get up with a little space in one's stomach. Are you still hungry? I asked faintly. Oh no, I'm not hungry. You see, I don't eat lunch. Now, after eating so much, again she is saying that no, I'm not hungry. I don't eat lunch. I have a cup of coffee in the morning and then dinner. But I never eat more than one thing for lunch. I was speaking for you. I see. Now she says that I was speaking for you. Then a terrible thing happened. While we were waiting for the coffee, the head waiter, with an ingratiating smile on his false face, came up to us bearing a large basket full of huge peaches. They had the blush of an innocent girl and they had the rich tone of an Italian landscape. Now, you see, the head waiter, he thought that this couple is very rich because they are ordering expensive things. So he came with an offer. He says that we have huge peaches with us if you want to have them. But surely peaches were not in the season, so off season things, as we all know, are very expensive. Lord knew what they cost, but I knew too a little later. For my guest going on with the conversation absent mindedly took one. Now, absent mindedly, that lady picked one peach and started eating it. You see, you have filled your stomach with a lot of meat. She is eating a lot of food, but she is taunting the author that you have filled your stomach with a lot of meat. My one miserable little chop. And you can't eat anymore. But I have just had a snack and I shall enjoy a peach. Now, she says that you have filled your stomach with a lot of food and I had just a little snack, so I will enjoy a peach. The bill came, and when I paid it, I found that I had only enough for a quite inadequate tip. Now, the whole money saved for the whole month had gone in paying the bill, and a very small little amount of money was left for inadequate tip to the waiter. Her eyes rested for an instant for the 3 francs I had left for the waiter, and I knew that she thought me mean. So when the lady saw that the tip given by the author was very less, so she was giving looks that the author was mean, he was a miser. But when I walked out of the restaurant, I had the whole month before me and not a penny in my pocket. Now, the condition, the situation of the author is that he became a pauper. He did not have anything, and the whole month lied before him. Follow my example, she said as we shook hands, and never eat more than one thing for luncheon. Now she is giving an advice. The lady who has eaten a lot in the lunch, who had spent the whole amount kept in the pocket of the author, is saying that you should follow my example and never eat more than one thing for luncheon. Now the author says, I will do better than that. I will eat nothing for dinner tonight, because he did not have money to eat. But the lady did not understand. Humorist, she said. She cried gaily, jumping into a cab. You are quite a humorist. But I have had my revenge. Now he was thinking about this incident 20 years ago. Incident of 20 years ago. But now, after 20 years, when he saw this lady, he says, I have had my revenge. I do not believe that I am a vindicative man. Vindicative means a person who believes in having revenge. But when the immortal gods take in hand in the matter, it is pardonable to observe the result with complacency. Now, the lady caused much pain to the author. Why? Because she spent the whole lot of money kept in his pocket, and he had to spend the whole month without money, without adequate food. And after 20 years, when he remembers the incident and when he saw the lady, he thinks that he has had his revenge. And he did not take revenge, but gods took the matter in their hands. And what was the revenge? Today she weighs 21 stones. 21 stones means today she is 63 kgs. Means his the weight of the lady is much according to her height. She is obese. she is fat now. Naturally, we can understand why she is a fat woman today, because she eats a lot. Now, this short story is very interesting, filled with humor, filled with irony, and it has one more message to convey, that people say something and they do something, and they blame other people. So, I hope you have enjoyed this short story. We will meet in another class with another short story. Thank you.